Okay, so polynomials are pretty important in algebra. Um, but more rather than define what a polynomial is, I think it's easier to see what a polynomial is for looking at examples. An example of a polynomial might be 3x squared. It's a polynomial. So is 2x plus 5 is a polynomial. Um, 4x cubed minus x squared plus 1 is a polynomial. Uh, 16 is a polynomial, believe it or not. And I'll explain how that's true in a second, because you start to probably think that polynomials are just expressions with x in them. Um, so what do you notice about these polynomials? Well, um, they all have, well, I'll go ahead and explain how 16 is a polynomial. Um, that is because, well, let me show you, let's think about, notice all of the powers of x. Let me show you in red some examples of something that's not a polynomial. The square root of x, or x to the negative 4 power, or 2 to the x power. None of these are polynomials because you can't have a you can't have a negative exponent, and x can't be the exponent, and you can't have a radical. So basically, these two aren't polynomials because they don't follow the rule that the powers of x must be whole numbers. Whole numbers. 2, 3, 2. Oh, what's the power of x here? There is no power of x there. Well, x by itself is x to the first power. 1 is a whole number. And my question would be, what power of x is by the 5 and by the 16? It's actually this. It's x to the 0 power. I could put in x to the 0 power next to the 5. It doesn't change a thing because anything to the 0 power is 1. So generally when you write, and we can also have an x to the 0 power right here. Generally when you write a polynomial, you start with the biggest power of x and you work your way down to the smallest power of x. Now, this polynomial here and this polynomial here are called monomials because they only have one term. Mono meaning one, like a monorail or a monogram. This polynomial is a binomial. Bi means two. So it's got two parts to it, two terms. So it's called a binomial. And I bet you can guess what this is called. Three parts. Mono means one, bi means two, and tri means three. It's a trinomial. Hope you guessed that before I said it. So there is the necessary vocabulary for understanding some about polynomials. We got monomials, binomials, trinomials, and understanding that a polynomial is just a group of, basically a polynomial is a group of monomials added together, and a monomial is a monomial is a polynomial itself, but you add a bunch of monomials together with different powers of x, and you've got a polynomial with more than one term. But remember, all the powers of x have to be whole numbers. You can't have a fractional power. You can't have the x in the exponent either. So now the only thing now you can add polynomials, you can subtract polynomials, you can multiply polynomials and divide polynomials. Typically, the first thing students learn is adding and subtracting polynomials. Well, let's take these two polynomials and add them together. This polynomial plus this polynomial. We got a trinomial plus a monomial. Adding to polynomials is really nothing more than combining like terms. I've got two terms with an x squared on them. That's going to become 2x squared when they're added together, because I've got a positive 3x squared and minus 1x squared. Everything else stays the same because there aren't any other powers of 3 to add in. So we just got 4x cubed plus 2x squared plus 1. Just add or subtract the like terms. That's really all there is to adding polynomials. Now, suppose we have, I'll give you another polynomial, negative 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus 4x plus 7. Okay, suppose we want to take this polynomial here. Let's take this to another page here. Let's do it both ways. Well, this polynomial minus this polynomial. All right, this is a little more challenging. But we still have, well, most people find it easier to distribute this minus sign. So what we really have here is 4x cubed plus 2x plus 1. Nothing happens to that. Minus this negative x cubed becomes plus, oops, a bit of black there, plus 2x cubed, and then minus 5x squared, minus the negative 4x is actually plus 4x, and minus the 7. Now we look at 4x cubed plus 2x cubed. Oh, goodness. That would be 6x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x squared. 2x squared minus 5x squared, we got minus 3x squared. There's only one term in it with x, the first power, so we've just got plus 4x. And we've got two terms that are constants, 1 and negative 7, which will be minus 6. That's how you subtract polynomials. Now, one more thing that I should mention, and that is, let's go back to the degree of this polynomial. Degree. The degree of a polynomial is the degree of the highest, it's the highest power of x in that polynomial, basically. So the degree, let's use the degree of a polynomial is the highest power of x in that polynomial. So the degree of this monomial will be 2. The degree of this trinomial would be 3. Not because it's trinomial, but because 3 is the highest power of x in the polynomial. That's the degree. What do you think the degree of this polynomial would be? What's the highest power of x? It's a It's an invisible one. It's that invisible one. So the degree of this polynomial is 1. The degree of this polynomial is 0. And so that's just about all of the vocabulary and understanding you need for an introduction to polynomials. And so I hope this has helped.